Welcome to RAREsies Rule, everybody. Today we have Ashley Cavalier,
Cavalier.
right? Because I'm French, so to me it's Cavalier.
Cavalier.
So
Right.
and Baton Rouge.
Yes.
You must have some French there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot.
Yes. So welcome, Ashley. I'm very happy to have you with us today. So we're just going to jump into some questions, get to know you a little bit, and bring awareness for people that don't know much about Olier's disease. So when were you diagnosed?
So my mom started consulting with the physicians at 2 months old. I was actually diagnosed around 4 months.
Okay. And what was it that your mother saw that brought concern?
When she first noticed the difference, it was actually the limb discrepancy in my legs when she was changing my diaper. So she noticed the left leg wouldn't straighten all the way out like the right leg did.
Right. I relate to that. When I was born, my legs were bent out of shape. So at 6 months, they put both legs in cast for 8 weeks to shape the bones. So, and then more came, but so, and the physician, the doctor that did the diagnosis, was he somebody that you could rely on, that was familiar with Olier's? Were you comfortable?
Yes. I know, of course, I was so young, but my mom, my parents, they put a lot of faith into him just because of the dedication and time he spent researching and reaching out to other doctors before really taking me on as a patient. I think I
That says a lot.
Yes. So I think the interesting part about it is that he actually had contacted a doctor in New Zealand by letter. So I mean, that's pretty big.
Yes, I agree. That's what doctors should do.
Mhm.
Really. And that he's invested in you, which is, I think, really, especially for your mom.
Yes.
You were little, as you say, it's like blah blah blah, let's just go kind of thing, right? You're happy,
Right.
and you should be, your kid, so it
Right.
should be that way. So, and you were diagnosed with Olier's, not Maffucci, correct?
Yes, Olier's, and then later on, I guess early teenage years, I was later diagnosed with Maffucci as well.
Okay, so have you, or do you know that you have either Olier's or Maffucci? You can't have both.
I actually do have both, and that's what makes my disease, well, not my disease, of course, the disease
Your
is rare, but my
case.
case so special. Right,
You're
right.
exactly. Okay. Which makes the ultra rare kick in as well.
Right.
Which is now a big factor in the rare disease community, because more diseases are popping up, so they've had to categorize, and now there's ultra rare, and Olier's does, Maffucci are in ultra rare sector. And have you ever met in person with someone with Maffucci or Olier?
No, I've never met anyone in person. So you're actually the first person I've been able to have face-to-face contact with. Ashley Eakin was the actual first person that I was kind of connected with. I found her on Instagram basically just by looking up hashtags. And, that's when we started connecting, and we had a lot of similarities and shared our stories. And I know when I first connected with her, it was just so exciting. This was maybe about 2 years ago. I asked her so many questions because it's kind of just so much
comforting.
Yes, it is. Yes, exactly. So
yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And Ashley's story is wonderful. And in watching her in the years, as she has matured, I guess you would say, and see her be so happy and get married and marry a Canadian, which is wonderful. I'm very happy for her. She's doing very well. And
Yes,
she's making her dreams come true with
Mhm.
her career as well. So, which shows that, you know, you just have to try and don't give up.
Yes, it's
You know,
very
it's
inspiring.
very important.
Mhm.
What do you think was the most difficult part of your journey?
Um, I guess just because the disease is so unpredictable, it's still presenting and just not knowing how it's going to show up later on in the future. And I think that's just the thing about once you're affected one way, you kind of focus on that part of your journey. And then it's always something else. Once you get over one hurdle, then, things can come later on. And it's kind of like starting over again, because then you have to find out how do we handle, this symptom of it? How do we treat it? How do we move forward? So
Right.
I think that's kind of like the hardest part about it, just not knowing.
Exactly. Exactly. And feeling, then you feel alone.
Hmm. Yeah,
And especially when you're in your teen years, um,
it gets harder.
it gets harder. And I am, I hope I'm not saying this to offend the other gender, but for females, I think it might be a little more difficult
I agree.
because of our self-awareness and lack of confidence, and
Yes,
our predetermination on what others will think.
right. How they're gonna
Um,
be. Right.
exactly. And that's all part of being a teenager,
Mhm.
sadly. And hopefully that part is changing. And that's something that I want to try and project in younger people than me, especially both than younger than us, so that they know that their journey can be an awesome one, and not to worry about what other people are saying.
Exactly.
So, but that can be adapted to everybody in life as well. So, and that's not a bad thing. Do you have any suggestions for other Oli or Raresies?
Just take it one day at a time, embrace what your differences, even though we both are affected by the disease, our cases are completely different, we're affected in different ways, and that's what makes it so unique. So embrace the differences, and also don't limit yourself. I was grateful enough to have a doctor who never put any limits on my life of what I could do. So I think that's really important. And then also join a support group. I never knew how much I needed that, and it took me about 25 years to actually really search for people like me and you to share my experiences with. So I think it's like you said before, it's comforting.
It is. It really is. I mean, it took me 47 years. Um, and, when the day I found somebody, and it was through Facebook group, it was Andrea's Kane's group. And as you know, Andrea's son is affected by Olier's. And it just kind of me like, what? Um, but then I found out that I'm one of the oldest people with it. And I was like, no. And as you say, though, this disease is different for everybody. It's the same disease, but it affects us
Differently.
differently. It's not like saying a breast cancer, it affects, how it affects it. We know how to deal with it. This does not have that subsequent way of doing that. So, it's, and not only that, in between, you can, surgeries, fractures can occur. And have you had any fractures?
I've never had fractures, so
That blows
fortunate enough
my
to
mind.
say that.
That just blows my
I
mind.
know,
I
because
mean,
it's so common.
to be
Mm.
honest with everybody, I knew this about Ashley because I've spoken with her, but when she told me this, it was like, that's awesome. Unbelievably awesome.
Right, because it is
Um,
common.
yeah. it's so common. It's very common. With females as well, we've tended to see a common factor, and Ashley Aiken would probably agree with this. Ovarian cancer, cervical cancer seems
Right.
to be something that O'Leary's females tend to have, well, or get, whatever. What are your, like, what's your dream for your future, your career, and your hope?
Well, just hearing you say about the things that you're doing in Canada, I think that's really great, and that's something that I aspire to do here. Just because I don't know of any activities or any, meetings, webinars, anything that we actually do, especially in my state or down south period, to actually bring awareness. Of course, with RAREsiesDay.org, them celebrating and kind of bringing awareness to it. February 28th, they kind of showing the map, all of the different activities that takes place all over the world. And it's
Yeah,
just like,
I'm on there.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I would kind of like to take on where I am and bring awareness and kind of get more involved as well to put, Louisiana on that map of bringing awareness and making people more knowledgeable.
That's,
So,
I think that's wonderful. Because you're not just, you're passionate about it because you're living it.
mhm,
And that to me makes a difference. People need to connect with people with the same issues,
yes,
because it makes understanding much better. And the other factor I think that's very important to note are family dynamics. Do you have any siblings?
I do. So I actually have 4 siblings.
And how were they dealing with, and how did they deal with your um, your disease? How did, was it affecting the family?
Um, in some ways, I don't think, not in a negative way, but I definitely always had their support. They're always, before I met other people, like you and Ashley and other people that I've connected with, who have similarities, they're always the people that I was able to rely on and really vent to. So that really made a difference in growing up. So,
That's good.
mhm.
That's very good. Thank you so much, Ashley, for joining us today. It was such a pleasure. I hope this helps you. It certainly helps me.
Definitely.
Thank you for that. And we'll be talking to you soon. You
Yeah,
take
can't wait
care.
to do this again. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.